Well, with me today, I have Lynn Branderhorst, and Lynn wears many hats, one of which is the board chair for the Marion County Community Foundation. She's also a city councilwoman for the city of Pella. So, Lynn, thanks for taking a few minutes to spend with me and have this conversation. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for asking me.
You bet. So, something we're asking everyone that's coming to do an interview is if we were to come to your community for a day, where would you take us before we head home that night?
Well, I would definitely take you to our historic downtown. Our community square is just exquisitely planned. It contains Dutch fronts and many boutiques and wonderful restaurants and our infamous Dutch bakeries. Then I'd probably give you a tour of our wonderful city parks, which are lovely all 12 months of the year. We'd swing by Central College and we'd take a little trip down the Oskaloosa corridor and look at some of the businesses that have been there for a long time. And that's also an area that we're putting through an urban renewal.
Oh, cool. That's great.
Yes.
Will you go on record saying what bakery is your favorite?
Well, I like them both. Actually, I do. I
Okay.
like different pastries at different bakeries, but I'm more of a meat market
Okay.
person. I do love our two meat markets. We have Infelt's and Ulrich's, and their Pella bologna is of course famous, but they have a lot of other wonderful delicacies.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great community.
It is.
So what I want to focus on today is this is our day focusing on leading in times of crisis. And just to set the stage, I was actually in Pella on March 2nd, probably one of the last in-person meetings I did for quite some time. And I was meeting with a small group of your board, and your board was thinking about making grants larger than 10 or 15,000, something it had not done before. And there was a lot of hesitancy about putting, quote unquote, so many eggs in one basket. And then not 30 days later, you call me up and say, Joe, we want to make a big splash and we need to step up for this COVID-19 and responding to the community. Can you tell us about the big grant you made at the end of March and how you got to that point?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. And you're right. The meeting that we had in March was very pivotal for our organization because we had a long history of making $3,000, $5,000, and $10,000 grants, and we were going into uncharted territory, and that was making larger grants to do something that you so eloquently called moving the needle. And it was a reach for a lot of our members, but they were very open-minded and in learning about how we could do that. And after your meeting, we then had a meeting of our board and kind of reviewed everything and got some feedback. And it was funny because one of the comments was, well, maybe we can do that in 2021. And so we kind of decided that in 20, we would do what we had normally done, those smaller grants. Well, after that meeting, I was in a meeting with Jeff Anderson, who for the Marion County, he is basically in charge of Homeland Security and all of the ambulance and fire departments in Marion County. That meeting was about canceling tulip time, which is a big deal in our community. And I was there to represent the city. Jeff and I had a discussion prior to the meeting beginning about the severity of this invisible enemy that just hadn't really entered Iowa yet, but was kind of marching towards us. And that enemy was COVID-19. After our meeting and during that meeting, we had decided to cancel tulip time, which was just heartbreaking, but we knew it was in everybody's best interest. After that meeting, I went into a private meeting with Jeff and some other community leaders and was really sitting down and comparing notes with Jeff about what we both knew about COVID. And I asked him a question, and that was, are you ready? Do you have the PPE that you need to keep Marion County safe? And his answer was, I don't believe we do. No. So I did not make any promises that day, but went home and called the vice chair, Dale Miller, and he and I had a long discussion, and we knew that it was the right thing to do at that moment. We both concurred that we needed to lead the organization towards supplying PPE for the first responders in Marion County.
Wow. So it ended up being a $150,000 grant and distributed to kind of all the fire departments and first responders in Marion County procure the PPE.
Yes, all of the agencies that Jeff Anderson led were given money for PPE. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. How incredible. I think it's a great lesson about making sure people on your board are tied into other community conversations and being willing to take on conversation. Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
part of the grant came from the Kuiper family, which has a long heritage in the Pella Marion County community, and they also supported this initiative. Can you talk about how you engaged that donor family as well?
Yeah. Yes, I'd be happy to. I did reach out to the individual that chairs the philanthropic giving for the family, the Kuiper family, and told him what we were thinking. And without hesitation, it was a big yes. And it was very touching because they did not want any notoriety for it. They just wanted to help. They wanted to help quickly. And they were very excited about the proactivity of the Marion County Community Foundation.
Yeah, that's a great point on the proactivity. When community foundations step up and they communicate that to donors, donors will follow. And that was an example of the Kuiper family, I think.
Yes, I agree. And I do think a big piece of this was being ahead of everything, because when we first made this decision, there were no cases of COVID-19 reported in Marion County. So, but we wanted all of the equipment in the hands of the first responders well ahead of everything so that they were confident. They knew that if they had to go to the scene of an accident or go into someone's home, not knowing if there was COVID in there, we wanted them to have the equipment, to know how to use it, and to feel safe in that environment.
Yeah. Well, you definitely proved to be right. And I'm sure it was a huge help to so many of those agencies and the people they serve. To kind of close this down, as the board chair and going through this experience, what are you hopeful for the future of your local community foundation?
I'm hopeful that we can continue to take on large projects, and to coin your phrase, large projects that move the needle, and the projects that really reach into our community and are helpful, and not just our individual communities, but our county. And that would be the focus that I'd like to have our eyes turned upon. Is what are the projects that will service the most people within the counties that we call home?
Yeah. Well, we are thankful. So many great Iowa volunteers step up for our community foundations, and you're definitely one of them. So thanks again for all you do.
Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege.